So as we go forward, I'm going to have to bounce back and forth as I want to share stuff, but we're going to get started here in just a second on how to sell to DHA, the Defense Health Agency, for 2023. But before I do, I want to just share a tip. I'm trying to get good at sharing a tip each day at the beginning as a way to say thank you for those of you showing up on time or even early to these LinkedIn Live events. By the way, when you do show up early or on time and you start engaging in the chat, LinkedIn sends out notifications to more people. And so that's how we're able to get more people in the community. Hence the reason I want to thank you for doing that. My tip for today is the bell notification on LinkedIn. This is one that I know about, and I just went and hit the bell notification on somebody I'm following that I'll talk to you more about her in future days, because I'm really going to showcase some of her content. But she puts out a lot of good content that I find very useful, right? She's in the proposal space, but I didn't have the bell notification on, so I wasn't being notified of everything she's putting out. And now I've got the bell notification. She's one of my connections. I have 18,000 plus connections, right? And so she's one that comes to the forefront. And my tip for you is to go find the people that are it's most important that you don't miss anything they're saying, so it comes to the top. I would submit that it's probably federal buyers to start with, right? If you're in the IT space selling to the government, maybe the CIO of the Army or the CIO of DHS or something is a good person to hit the bell notification. That way, if they put something out, it comes right to your profile. You get a notification in LinkedIn that'll tell you it's going on. You can do the same thing in YouTube, right? If you're following a channel, you can hit the bell notification when you subscribe to that channel, and YouTube will send you a notification letting you know they're coming out. So, okay, let's go ahead. That's the tip for today. Hope you find it helpful. Definitely hit the bell notification on me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I am super happy that you're here with me today on the 12th of December, Monday, as we get started in more federal sales training. This is where I provide tips, procedures, process for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and I had success there. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When it's a secret, you always feel like you don't know. When it's a process, you just follow it from A to Z, and you'll have the expected outcome, the results that you want. You'll have repeatable, predictable success. That's what we want for you, and it's why we bring this training to you every single day. In fact, if I just pause for 1 second, I want to say thank you to our sustaining members, because they're the reason we're able to provide this training to you. They're the reasons we're able to provide anything that the GovCon Chamber provides is through the sustaining members. So huge thank you to you. As we go forward, do me a favor, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name, if you haven't done so already, put your company name into the chat, and your core competency, 2 or 3 words. Let people know who you are, right? Your core competency doesn't need to be a lot of words. It needs to be memorable. And so as you're doing that, I just want to look, I noticed, Lori, thanks for sharing that thing about LinkedIn showing it as 12 to 1 o'clock. It is 12 to 12:30. I just haven't figured out how to get LinkedIn to lock that time down to 12:30. Anybody got ideas on that? Feel free to ping me offline. But thank you. Please point out anything, right? I appreciate, Lori, that you're just providing feedback to us. Any feedback we ever get that tells us what we're doing well and do more of it, we'd love to hear. And anything that tells us, hey, have you thought about this? We're totally open to it. And especially anywhere where you see an error, like if I spelt my name wrong or something, right? It's like, let us know. We're a team. Let's work together. Okay, and last thing as we go along, if you feel a reason to comment in the chat, please do so, right? Sometimes I'll give you guidance on, hey, put something in chat. And other times you just feel it and put it in. Let us know. It's a way to engage. In fact, network with the people in the community, because they are your potential teaming partners, certainly your professional friends in the GovCon world. And so I want you to connect with them. Okay, so today's training is going to be this. It's my first of 250 or so trainings like this. And so I'll be much better as I go along. But today's training is about how do you sell into the DHA, as an example, any agency out there, but I'm going to particularly dive into DHA. I want to be able to help you go into the Defense Health Agency as if it's day one and you've never done anything. I have a workshop that's separate from the one you might have heard of, but it's this one that we don't rarely tell on any of these trainings we do, but it's for taking somebody from an intern or junior person into a junior business developer, making them a solid business developer going into an agency. So if I look at what I'm going to teach today, it's exactly what I teach them. I am teaching you what we cover in 90 days in 30 minutes or less. And so this idea of the training follows our 7-step process. In fact, let me show you. Let me just pull up 7-step process to get us all back to where I want us to be. So here's the 7-step process. And the 7-step process that we coined and teach is that government contracting, like we said, is a process. And the process begins with research, right? You want to make sure you're understanding the buyer. And then it moves on to targeting, which is finding the people that you want to reach out to. And once you've done that, you go into outreach phase, or the step in the process, 7-step process. And here you're trying to have meetings. These are the intro meetings, et cetera. And all of them are designed to lead to relationships. When you have solid relationships with potential teammates, larges or small primes, et cetera, when you have relationships with federal agency buyers, whether it's the acquisition side or the program side, you're going to hear about opportunities, which is that next step. That's how you begin to hear about opportunities. Of course, you can look in GovWin. Of course, you can look at SAM, but that's way right in the process. And so having these relationships in place allow you to hear about opportunities before they even come out. Anyways, or as they're coming out, or it allows you to be able to go back in and ask a lot of questions, a lot of value to relationships, obviously. But when you have the right opportunities, it will lead to proposals. And when you write proposals, winning proposals on slam dunk opportunities, meaning opportunities that are in your space, you're going to win sales, which of course will have you allow you to strengthen your relationship, build more relationships, et cetera. It's a circular process to success where you can make $1 trillion yourself, or somewhere between 100,000 and $1 trillion. Okay, so the reason I pointed that out, and it's funny, I do all that jokey stuff and you can't even see me laughing at my own jokes. But the reason I point that out is because today, as I go through looking at DHA, I want to follow that 7-step process. And so the first step in that 7-step process is to begin to understand the agency. And I've already downloaded some of these documents, but I'm going to share my screen. Hold on one second. So I'm going to share my screen on and off. It'll be kind of a working sessions today, but I want to show you several different things. Let me just start with this. So I'm sharing DHA, right? DHA is part of health, the health.mil world, which is all of defense, health, et cetera, connecting it with VA or tying it together with VA. I just want to talk about the Defense Health Agency today, right? And there's a couple of things I want to point out. There's as we go forward, and sorry, hold on one second so I can get well, Gus, giving you a heads up, I can't see the chat or Teams. So if there's a problem, you text me. Anyway, so as we go into an agency, the first thing we want to do is research. And the first place you start with research is the strategic plans. In this case, DHA calls it a DHA campaign plan, right? So I'm going to click on that and we'll just open it up really quick. And I want to guide you through this. And as it's coming up, I want to tell you that when you get these plans and they're coming up, don't just get it and put it somewhere. You want to read, in this case, all 12 pages. But in a minute, I'm going to show you all 180 pages. But in here, you want to read this information, right? And so as you come forward, let me just do a page view here really quick. So as you go forward, right, you'll start seeing information about this organization. Let me zoom out a little bit so it's easier to read. And let me see if I can scroll. No. Okay. So as you're coming down, right, you can see the main table of contents, and I'm going to go down here in a second. But I want to understand DHA. The reason I want to do my research and understand DHA is because when I have a conversation with somebody, the first time I'm going to do a call with somebody, small business specialist, a program office, a contracting officer, in the back of their mind, they're going to go, do these people even care about us? Right? People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so in this particular case, they're looking to say, did you even take time to research us? Do you know what our mission is, what we're trying to do? So here you can see they're talking about the FY21 campaign, and I'll dig into this more. But here's FY26, future state. Future state is they're trying to bring these 400 hospitals, medical centers, et cetera. I wasn't even aware of all this until I prepared the training for you, right? But I hadn't realized how big their footprint was. And it makes sense. But I'm able to look at their future state. And the future state is bringing it under basically one umbrella that allows them to move forward. And how do they plan on doing that? So you can see this right here. I need to know the strategic initiatives so that I know where do I fit in. So let me keep scrolling down, and I want to go back to page view because that's tends to be my favorite. Here is just a message. I'm not going to go into it, but I like reading this. You can watch other training where I go in and I highlight each line that I like and tell you why I like it. But what I'm really looking for is something like this. Here they talk about their campaign plan for success, right? And they've got these 4 major initiatives here, right? Great outcomes. They talk about making sure they have a medically ready force. They lay out these other ones, right? I want to understand this. And if you're going into DHA, you want to understand this as well, because you begin to look at this and go, well, where could I best fit, right? Maybe you don't fit into all of them. Maybe you sit there and say, hey, I was looking at, the outcomes you're trying to achieve, or your lines of effort that they described here in their strategic priorities. When I look at your strategic priorities, I fit into this one, right? So you want to look at that and understand that. Let me come down to this next one, right? Here they start talking about, what does the future state look like? Take the time to look at this. As you look at it and you start coming down, you'll be able to understand deeper these strategic goals that they have, right? And how they're going to do it. Here, when they talk about a ready medical workforce, right? What do they mean by that? I do IT services, let's say, and cybersecurity. Does that really fit in there? But when I think about satisfied patients, one of the things patients want is not to be hacked, right? Or have their medical records released. So maybe there's a play for cybersecurity within that satisfied patients goal. And you should be doing that same thing. Whether you sell office furniture, you're doing elevators, you're doing SharePoint, it doesn't matter what you sell. You should be able to align it to their strategic plan, their goals for the future. Here's just basic stuff as they go forward. But here, as they talk about integration, right? Understanding how they plan to roll this out, and how they, I want to come down here one second, and how they plan on delivering this. So right here, let me zoom out a teeny bit, is a perfect graph that I would begin to align myself to, right? I look at what they're doing and I try to understand it. And this is what I would recommend you do as well. When you're preparing your questions to go in and talk to the buyer, right? What are you going to be talking to them about? And so anyways, long story short on the strategic plan, this is only 12 pages. You should be able to come in here and begin to understand it. Here, they talk about performance. And as you get in here, their initiatives, let me zoom in so you can see this, right? Right here, there's 8 KPIs and 8 strategic initiatives. These are vital for you to understand and align. When you go and talk to somebody, I would be pulling this out and say, hey, I was looking at this. We really think we can help here. If you're talking with a small business specialist, for example, you could say, can you connect us with the program office, or who's got the lead on this initiative? Often within an agency, DHA, for example, improved patient outcome, generally one program office or one person is the lead on that. These are the type of questions you want to shape. They do 2 things. They help you drive forward in the sales cycle, business development, et cetera. But it also helps you communicate that you've done your research. You know exactly what you're trying to do. And here they just begin to explain it out. So I'm not going to go further on this. That's the strategic plan, right? When you look at that. So part of understanding their strategy is looking at their way forward. The other part is understanding what they did. It's funny, right here is a 2020 stakeholder, DHA. If you're watching that, you want to change it because you got a 2021 one. So let me come back here, stride plans. It's funny trying to find where they have this one activity. Come on, I hit the wrong button there. Sorry. There's a resource. Hold on one second. It's faster for me to pull it up on PDF because I downloaded it. This is a 2021 stakeholder report I want to share. Come on. And let me come back and share my screen. Okay, right here. This is a DHA 2021 stakeholder report. Let me put the hand on one page. And the whole point of this is the last fiscal year they could report on, right? They just finished up with fiscal year 2022. They're still writing the report. So as you come down in here, you can begin to see what did they accomplish, and how do they feel about it, and what are they trying to do. So right here, I'm not going to go too far into this, but right here on the left-hand side is where I want to go. So the right-hand side, excuse me. I think that's as big as I need to make it for you to be able to see. But right here, they talk about their major initiatives, right? If you don't know what Genesis is, this is basically electronic health records, right? So you can go in there and see how DHA is tying back to VA's initiatives as they tie all these medical records, trying to roll them out. And you can see what's going on there if that's a place you want to fit. Here, they're talking about that area I was looking at before, the integrated health system. But the part that I like is seeing how they talk about what they want to do going forward based on what they did. And so here they were laying out 2022. The reason this is important, if I go to page 14 really quick, which is funny, there's no page 14. Oh, because they have double pages. You're killing me. I hate it when people do this to a PDF. DHA, if you're listening. Okay, so let's go down to page 14 really quick. 14. So if you look at the priorities here, what I'd be curious at, if I'm going to go in, right, when I talk about doing research so it can lead to better outreach and having introduction calls, I would be saying, hey, I was looking at the stakeholder report from 2021, right, for 2021, and I noticed there were priorities for 2022. Where are we on that? Because you're not going to hear about that for a few more months, maybe April or January or March. But in here, you can see on the right-hand side, these 8 strategic initiatives. How did you guys do on that? That's sales, right? I'm not talking about bidding, right? Bidding is a whole different world where you just wait for an opportunity to go after it. Sales, business development, and capture, that's about going in and having conversations with the customer about their strategic initiatives. Where are you on it? How did 2022 go? What do you think is coming out on 2023? Why wait for the report? Go in and begin to have the conversations. And so that's the idea behind that. Hopefully that makes sense. These are strategic documents, right? So if you understand the value of doing research on strategic documents, put in chat, comments, whatever, that just says research rocks, right? Let me know that you're tracking on this. And I want to share this next document. And this one, so I showed you only 12 pages, right, for the campaign plan. Here's 12 pages. The report had, what did it have? I think it's 17 pages. And here, the industry day has 180 slides, right? This is where you find gold mine information. And by the way, you should be putting this next event on your calendar. If you want to sell into DHA, March 2023, they're probably having another event. You can go into their website and check it out, but certainly just reach out to them and make sure you're on the radar, because this is their one big industry day. And it's where a lot of their departments share things. And so I've done this before, training where I've gone through each slide. In this one, but in particular, I just want to cover as much stuff as I can for DHA. But I've talked about the strategic plan. Download it, read it, understand it. The annual report for the previous year, fiscal year, download it, read it, understand it. Any industry day slide that you can get your hands on, especially the bigger ones that they have where they're really trying to, it's called an industry day, but this one really is more like an agency brief. Sometimes industry days tend to be about an opportunity. This is about everything. So I'm going to come through here, and I just want you to see as I go through how much stuff is in here. And I'll stop and point out some of the information that I think is really valuable. But if you want to sell into DHA, let's pause for 1 second. How much money do you want to get from DHA, right? Let's just be clear with each other. You're in business to sell, or you're in business to help somebody sell into DHA, for example. How much money do you want? How much revenue, how much sales wins are you trying to get? 100,000, $1 million, 5 million, 10 million, right? Think about that number, and then think about how much time are you willing to invest to get that. I have people who work with me in our workshop, they have to invest money. If you want to go into DHS or any other agency, are you willing to invest time, your own time, to read 180 pages? And what I would submit is it takes you, let's say it takes you a week to really just take your time, absorb this, understand it. Is that worth it to make $100,000? Is that worth it to make $1 million? I believe it is, and I think you should see that as well. And I'm telling you right now, 90% of your competitors don't read documents. They just don't. They think it's a waste of time. I got to go be doing something instead of reading it. But if you do this, this is kind of like sharpening the saw on the agency, if you will. So let's go down pretty quickly. As you go through, I'm just going to come through. They start talking about DHA. Frankly, I've known DHA has existed, but because that's never been my customer, I don't know a lot about them. But I'm telling you, I know a lot about them in the last few days as I've done research in preparation of training you on just what's available in there. But as you come down, you begin to learn more and more about their organization. You start seeing what they're trying to do, right? Here's their transition optimization, where they're trying to go. Here's their transition framework. Here I can begin to understand their org chart, right? Their org chart doesn't have people listed, but that's okay. I begin to see how they're organized and what some of these guys are doing. For example, over here, direct report organizations, I can begin to see, it's like, well, what is PEO medical systems? That seems like it might be my world. And if you've ever seen other training we've done on agency awareness, we build mind maps or org charts ourselves. We don't depend on the governments. We build our own and we begin to put this information in. But because I'm looking at this document, I can see what's going on. I begin to understand this is a high-level overview. You could learn probably some of this on the website, but on this briefing deck, it's so good. And if DHA could ever share the recordings of this, that would be the very best. So here they're talking about some other areas in the next few slides about acquisition, how they're trying to improve that process and teach us. I'm going to skip past that. This one here, though, this is a great place for you to just understand medical whole of government. I was talking with somebody who wants to be in the health IT side or the healthcare side of the federal government. Well, here's a quick visibility of how these tie together. You know, you're looking at DOJ. I didn't even know DOJ had healthcare, but it kind of makes sense because it's probably, I'm guessing, the Bureau of Prisons or something, since they have a lot of people they have to be responsible for their healthcare. But DHS, HHS, how they tie in, right? This is huge. If you're trying to build a medical vertical, just by looking at an industry deck, one slide and my insight is so much broader. I can speak at a different level, but I can also see who these key people are. And if you were here early, I told you about hitting the bell icon. I would find the people that are on here and go hit the bell icon on wherever they're at so I never miss anything they say. Here's just some more explanation. I want to move pretty fast, though. You're going to have to go through this yourself. I want to get down to here they're talking about functional change. This is really important. The Navy recently did some reorgs that I shared out. It's important to stay on top of what's going on and how things are changing. But here, I'm just looking at the EIPMO, and okay, I'm in cyber. Let's use that as my example today. I'm like, I'm under this. How does that fit in? How do I begin to learn more about it? When I'm researching into an agency, I want to understand where they fit, and then I can begin to find the people, which is targeting, the second step of the process. Okay, so this is all just enterprise imaging. I'm going to move past that. And so again, here's their organizational structure. They're laying it out. It's just, I see it multiple ways, right? But I want to come down to one last thing to this lady. The reason I'm coming down here is because when I was doing the preparation for DHA, I didn't have Cassandra Martin. I couldn't find her information anywhere. If you go online on DHS's site, it looks like all I could find is, generic contact the OSDBU at the OSDBU office or the OSBP at the OSBP office type thing. They kept it pretty generic, but because I went through the slides, now I found her here. Now I can go search on Google and find her email and her phone number. I can go in and see if she's on LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere else. I can go see if she's presenting at FC or NDIA or wherever she's at. Now I can begin to, social selling is about trying to find Cassandra as an example and see what she's saying anywhere. The first time I ever meet with Cassandra, I want to be able to say, hey, I saw you here. I listened to you on this podcast, etc. But it was because I went through this deck that I was able to find that information out. I want to jump ahead to something else. Let me go back here really quick. So I want to share one more set of things on here before our time runs up, because this is really important. So I talked about, but by the way, so I talked about Cassandra, and this begins to go into targeting. But because I'm doing my research, right, I'm able to find out that the Small Business Administration's PCR, there's two of them for DHA. It's Martina Williams and Kayla Naranjo. I think I might be brutalizing that name. But these are two SBA PCRs responsible. They have responsibility for oversight of DHA to make sure basically that they're not pushing opportunities to full and open when they should go small, right? And so these are people I would want to know and say, hey, I'm going into DHA. I just want to say, hi, can I introduce myself? I would find out wherever they're speaking and try to engage them, right? Again, that's social selling. And then there's a whole site I'm not going to be able to cover today on, and I'll put this in the links later on in the description, but there's a whole acquisition team that's really organized neatly for selling the different things that DHA buys that you would want to begin to learn about and figure out who do I target. But let me show you this last thing here really quick. Let me come back, share my screen. And I know this is a fire hose worth of information. It's good information. I'll provide the links to you later. But I wanted to show you this thing, right? This is part of outreach is being visible to the buyer in the way that they look. And so health, military, and or military health and DHA, they have their own portals, if you will. So here's a vendor information form, right? I'm not putting it into chat because it just won't go to you, but I'll definitely put it in the post comments or something afterwards. But come in here, right? Are you registering to make sure that they're aware of you. They also have the ability to, let me see if I can go back here. You have the ability to submit your capability statement by email. I don't know what that effect is, right? I'm going to try it out myself and see what results is it, how fast you get a response, et cetera. But it doesn't matter how fast they respond. I can see that they're trying to engage industry by saying, hey, submit your stuff to us as we go forward. One last thing I want to share with you, and and this part's pretty important as you go forward. By the way, the forecast is also on the website. I'm not going to show it to you right now, but part of opportunities is beginning with the forecast, right? Begin with what they're telling us are the biggest opportunities, and you'll be able to track on those. And then the next thing is you begin to do more and more business development, which is identifying opportunities by having more conversations. What's not on the forecast, right? Obviously, you can go to FPDS, you can go to SAM, et cetera, but talking with people is the best way to begin to learn what's in there. But so you can find the forecast online. But one thing I did want to point out is that you're trying to develop relationships, right? And part of developing relationships in there is, it's in this world, this day we're living in, is social selling, is engaging with people before you ever have a meeting with them. And so a couple of things I want you to keep in mind on social media is that obviously DHA, has a web presence. They also are on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on LinkedIn, and I think they're on YouTube, right? And I'll provide all those links. But they're on these 4 social media platforms and a website. They are doing the best they can to communicate with us and to let you know, hey, we want your help, industry, small businesses in particular, right? We want you to come to us. So if you take the time to research, you'll be able to help them realize that you care about them. There's that line that says people don't care what you know until they know that you care. When you have done this social engagement and research, which should take you 30 days or less, and again, that's a good amount of time to do initial research before you ever start knocking on doors, right? So if you do that, if you're serious about trying to grow a book of business of $1 million, $5 million, $10 million in DHA, then take the time to do the research, take the time to engage them outside of any particular meeting, and then begin to do the outreach so you can have intro calls. So a lot of links I didn't get to share with you, or a lot of links I did talk about. I'll put it into a post. If you put in the chat, just let me know links, please. Just put links, please, and we'll notify you when we've got the post comments put in. We'll probably do that later today or tomorrow. But put that into the chat. We covered a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to summarize it. I do want to tell you that we have a workshop that's a business development accelerator, and it's designed for companies that are at a good stage already. So $1 million plus usually is what's in there. If you're interested in hearing more about it, let me know. Reach out on LinkedIn and direct messaging. And if you find value in this particular training, let me know that this is good and that you would like to see more of this as I continue to improve my delivery, but more of this for other agencies, other offices, because we want to do that. And we want to know that it's something of value to you. So remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is coming back next time. I'll see you in the next training.